Welcome to Enlightened Connections, where we explore intuition, animal communication, healing, consciousness, and the deeper wisdom that connects us all. I'm your host, Lisa Aston Michael. Please follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And today on Enlightened Connections, I'm joined by Kiara Brown. Kiara is a licensed professional counselor, EMDR certified therapist, certified hypnotherapist, and founder of Luna Counseling. Her work focuses on trauma healing, nervous system regulation, embodiment, and helping people reconnect with themselves in compassionate and sustainable ways by blending evidence-based therapies with mindfulness, somatic practices, and holistic healing approaches. She creates grounded and accessible conversations around mental health, healing, and authentic human connection. Kiara is also the host of the Luna Counseling podcast, where she explores the realities of healing work alongside therapists, healers, and educators. Welcome, Kiara.
Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Now, there's a lot that I want to talk about with the work that you do, but let's just start by saying that the work, all of that I've just announced that you do, it works beautifully in the way that it bridges evidence-based therapies with holistic and embodied healing practices. So how did you come to integrate approaches like EMDR, hypnotherapy, mindfulness, and somatic work? It sounds like a lot, but it's kind of the one in the one balloon. How did you integrate all that?
That it's really been fairly recently on my therapy journey. So for the longest time, I was very much like evidence based, CBT models, all that jazz that most therapists do. But I feel like once I hit 31, my life was kind of like, why am I hiding who I am? Because I've always been drawn to the more intuitive practices, the more spiritual side of things, but I always suppressed it. And then when I hit 31, I'm like, you know what? Why? And then I just started incorporating all of it, learning more about my own journey, healing myself with those same modalities, and then learning more about them. Like this has been such a transformative for my own healing journey that I then gave it to my clients as well. And just kind of, in a sense, telling everyone else to go F themselves for whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Want to bring that stuff in. I'm like, no, it needs to be brought in.
Yeah.
And then I brought it in myself. And it's just been an amazing experience because I've seen how transformative it was for myself and transformative it's been for my clients too. That I will never go back to just strictly the Western way of thinking with just CBT, talk it out stuff. Because there's so much more to healing than just talking it out.
You know what strikes me? You're very young to have had this dark night of the soul walk. I had that awakening in my 60s. You've had it in your 30s. And I feel that, just tapping into you a little bit here, I feel that you came into this world with a fairly bumpy ride early on. And you feel to me like an incredibly sensitive and empathetic and intuitive person that's kind of kept themselves in the shadow in your earlier years, to keep yourself safe and protected. And it's interesting, isn't it, how healers always kind of come from a place of shadows. I think so anyway. That's purely my perspective, and from talking to healers like yourself, it comes from that. It's like you've got to walk it. It's like you've got to walk the talk, but you're so young to have journeyed that. Do you want to talk a little bit about, not so much the professional side of you yet, but do you want to talk a little bit about, if you wish, what those shadows were and where your dark night began?
And so, I mean, when you just described what you taught, tune into me, I definitely felt you tuning into me. I could just feel the tingles on my body a little bit too, which is super cool. But it's really interesting that you say that because you're so spot on with everything about how I am. So I'm the youngest of 5, technically 6, and in a blended family. And there's a great big age gap between my siblings and I. So I grew up seeing my siblings struggle with a lot of things, and I had this, like, innate pressure. It was never overt, like, my parents never told me that I had to do this, but I always felt like I had to be the perfect one. I had to be the one that held everything together. I had to be there. I had to be, like, there for them, my parents and my siblings, and even my friends too. Like, I'm always the one that everyone leaned onto. So it felt hard to really embrace who I was, and I did try a little bit when I was younger, and, like, obviously, I was really little, and my friends and I were like, thought I was doing it silly, but I knew I had, like, a spiritual, like, witchy side to me at a really young age, and my friends and I, we created a coven, and, like, we thought I was, like, that's a lark, but it's like, I knew, like, it was a thing I needed to do, but I got so much heat from my grandparents from, like, talking about that stuff, and I love my grandparents so much, they're, like, huge influences in my life, and so I hid that part of me. And just, like, as I grew up with being around them and being around my family and everything else that we were going on personally, I just kept it all bottled up. And as I got into school and, like, learned more about my degree in counseling, learning about the generational traumas that came from, like, what my parents went through growing up and how that kinda gone on to me and my siblings, and then learning about what my grandparents went through, and learning about epigenetics and all the things about generational trauma, it made me, like, real like, why am I carrying their burdens, their shame, their whatever? And I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done
Right.
doing it. And I think part of the impetus is like what really changed it for me was when I had my son. It was like I knew I was something needed to change. I had an infertility really early on in my marriage, and like we struggled for years to get pregnant. And then when we had my son, it was around COVID time, and I was like, think the world was crazy. I was just like, I am done holding space for people that aren't doing it for me. I mean, I love it. My family still really is really supportive in other ways, and like they've always here for me. But like, I just decided I'm just gonna be who I am.
Mhm.
And when I had my Saturn return, it was around like 30, 31. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna step into it. And then Aries moon, figured I might as well like embrace a little bit of my Aries coming in, relying so much on my Cancer because I'm a Cancer sun and a Cancer rising. And I have like, the Aries, and it's like, okay, I need to like, bring some Aries in.
That
And
is
it was,
such a tough road. That's a tough road. Cancer Sun with Aries, it's like one says, "Leave me alone, I wanna be unseen, unheard in the shadows and just sit quietly," and the other says, "No, no, no, you're not. Out you get. Come on, out you come." It's like, "Oh my gosh."
and my mentor, I will be forever grateful for her being into my life. She came into my life around my 30s, and we met at a party, and like I knew of her, but we hadn't like fully met. And then I was like, you know what, you and I need to just to connect. And I knew the universe was putting her in my life, and I have learned so much about myself and the spirituality journey that I've been on from her that her presence in my life will be forever like something
Mm,
I will never like let go of because I just love her to death. And
mm.
she was the one that's been helping me learn so much about me. And then she put on an expo, and there's a person there who was doing celestial readings, and that's when I learned a little bit more about my signs. And as I have a Pisces in me somewhere, I can't remember where it is exactly off the top of my head. And like the self constellation part of it, where you have to go through all this stuff to learn how to and heal from it, and then heal other people. And it's like that's been so true for my entire life. I've gone through so many things that I've helped other people through, and it's just been the guiding principle for like my entire life.
You know, while we're just touching on astrology, are you aware of where your Chiron might sit? The wounded, the wounded one.
So that I don't have off the top of my head, but and I do know in my human design on my past life side, I have 22.1 in my Aries, which is like, and so that's been a new thing that I've been learning too about like how past my past lives and like my ancestors have been influencing my health because I've been on a big health journey as well,
Yeah.
and like learning about all that stuff and kind of playing that stuff out has been really challenging.
In human design, are you a projector?
I am. I'm a mental projector.
Yeah. So that's also, I just got the tingles then too. So I'm sort of feeling with you, like, because there's this whole pile of, it's so interesting the work that you do now from more understanding about you being a Cancer sun, you being a projector. There's this whole, I need to help, I can see that there's a better way to do things. I can see the big picture. I am the eagle overview here, but damn it, nobody's listening, and so that bitterness creeps in. You know, that projector bitterness, and for you, and you know, it's this kind of ongoing dichotomy where you want to help, you want to heal. That's what your soul's here for, to do the work that you're doing now. But at the same time, you know, you want to just pack a little bag and go take off around the world where nobody knows you, nobody sees you, and nobody asks anything of you, you know? And it's incredible the work that you're doing. Some of the things that you touch on in the work that you do, if we can just turn to your work for a moment, we hear a lot of things, of terms like nervous system, you know, regulation. And I know that that's a big thing for you that you've worked on. How would you describe what nervous system regulation is? And how do we work with that? How do you work with that?
So to me, I always describe that nervous regulation as finding finally having your mind and your body connected. And like that is like my biggest sentence that I tell all my clients, like we're getting your mind and body connected. Because I deal with adults that have been abused or neglected a lot in childhood, some of them even assaulted sexually. And they always, in those moments, you disconnect. So you're not in those moments. And then you end up living the rest of your life in your head. So for me, I just love to help people like actually finally sink in to their body and like recognize where those memories are being stored in their body and what's been holding them back for so long. And once we can do that, and you can actually finally have that release of what's you've been storing for however long, the amount of change that people are able to do from that has been amazing. Like I have clients that for years they've been stuck in these patterns of like self sabotage or like even physical health illnesses that have been able to make small changes. And I always tell everyone, we're not going to go from A to Z in 2 sessions. That's not sustainable. That's not healthy. We need to baby step things. So I always say to people, like, if you even make one small minute change and it starts helping make you feel so much better, that's what we're going to build on. It's like also using the analogy of like a picture of like two letters side by side. One has the rungs spaced 5 feet apart. The other one has like them an inch apart. We want the one that's an inch apart. You climb it faster. That's what we're working on. We're building the small stepstones to have your body work to heal itself. Because guess that everything is stored in our bodies 100%, but our bodies also have the answer for the healing. And when we can actually tune into that and the but it's just so momentous seeing those connections happening. And it's just been amazing incorporating that stuff into my work. That's why I love hypnotherapy so much. I love it actually more than EMDR personally. I feel like we can get deeper and get into the body faster with hypnotherapy rather than EMDR. But EMDR obviously is still really great. And I love doing that work too. But I love hypnotherapy so much more.
Do you find that this is a pretty broad question, but do you find that most of the trauma is carried over, like ancestral or generational trauma, or a combination of that and childhood trauma? You know, does a lot of it come from when we're children? I think, who was it that said, you know, give me the child till they're 7 years old and I'll give you the adult? Do you find a lot in that, or is it a kind of a melting pot of what happens through, well, everything put together, really?
I think it's both. Because like I mentioned earlier about epigenetics is because traumas really can get into our DNA, right? And a lot of the trauma work that I do focuses on like the pre-verbal trauma, like whenever people were in the womb, because there's so much that happens with the mother, not with no fault of her. I'm not blaming the mother at all, but like stress of life getting to her, or even if she is in the bad situation with the parent or whoever, like the other parent or whoever, can cause issues. Because if the womb itself doesn't feel secure, then the babies themselves come into the world already dysregulated. And then that can also lead to other issues like ongoing. And but also if the parents do the work themselves and heal it themselves, then regardless of what happened in the past, I feel like can also just not be as big of an impact on the children.
Are you talking about things like perhaps a rape or an unwanted pregnancy or fearful of having the child, and they're the emotions that the child absorbs in the womb?
Part of it, but not even just that. Like even a parent that could be like a single mom, right? Like they were in a committed relationship and something could happen to the other parent, whether it be like the person just left or they unfortunately die before the baby is born and like they're dealing with everything on their own. Like whatever the circumstance is, like that's a lot of stress on on a person. Like maintaining, like trying to live themselves as well as okay, now I have to take care of this child and like the stress and worry, that
Mm,
constant cycle then bleeds into the baby. Because I mean, I don't know if you've had children, but like like children themselves, they take so many nutrients from a mother.
mm,
If you're already in a depleted environment yourself, like even if you might be living below your like living below your means, you might be impoverished, and you're not getting enough food. You're also not getting enough nutrients already. And then you have a baby taking a lot of nutrients from you as well, and that
mm,
kind of cycle can come into play. Or even like people that are more affluent, but they're usually in like the really stressful jobs, right? Like you might be a stockbroker, a doctor, a lawyer. Those are really stressful jobs.
mm.
And that constant stress and going and working, going, that drains you physically. And then you're not giving maybe enough nutrients to the baby either. So it can go either way in those instances.
Wow, so it really covers the whole spectrum of things, doesn't it? And stress, particularly this day and age and the time that we're in now, you would probably be finding more clients coming with more external traumas, maybe because we're not built for all of this information that we're receiving. Before television came along, we didn't know what was happening outside of our communities, and that was enough. That was enough to deal with. All we had to deal with was the family, our friends, what was going on at school, et cetera, et cetera. But now we have the news, and we have Sky News, and we have social media and all forms of information, income through technology, that our little brains can't keep up with that information, and our need to see something that is broken, and our instinct to want to help fix it or nurture it or support it is overwhelming, isn't it? It's absolutely overwhelming.
I'm a millennial. I was born in 94. So I was born before the internet, then I grew up with it, right? Like, and whenever social media came around, I mean, it's MySpace first. I had MySpace first because I was like the first one. Well, first it was AOL, and then it was MySpace. But even on then, like you could instantly talk to your friends on AOL, and all of the drama that carried over from school got carried into your home life instantly. I was in fifth grade, I think, whenever that started, and it's been crazy ever since. Like, because you don't get to disconnect anymore
Mm,
because it's like everything's there all the time. I can only imagine, and when I work with kids that were like grew up with it, like from a baby, like they got tablets handed to them, they haven't had a break from it. They got access to everything at the touch of their fingers at a really young age without the discernment to know what's true and what's not true and how to really communicate effectively with people and what to say and what not to say and when. And that's where you get the teens that end up committing suicide because they get constantly bullied. There's been no disconnection. Because before people could go home and they could be safe. The bullies were left at school. I am not saying bullying okay, but there's at least a break, right? But now there's no break. And that stress is so constant. It's leaving everyone's brains flushed in cortisol and adrenaline and they can't shut it off. And then we get adults, we become adults, and we still have that, and we're comparing ourselves to everyone else still, wanting to be keeping up the Joneses essentially. And when you're not there or you're not good enough, it's it's harder to feel like you're even getting ahead in life.
So I would say that what we're talking about right now is trauma. It's trauma, isn't it? It's nothing short of that on every level. And it can be overwhelming and it can be intimidating for people. How would you suggest, or what would you suggest that people could, where do they start with the healing process? And what's the importance of having self-compassion with healing from this? I mean, we all know the first step. The first step is turn off the TV. Don't listen to the news. Don't scroll on Facebook, all of the usuals. But I'm talking about if you step back from that and you still feel the aftermath is still there, the stress is still there, the overwhelm is still there, the depression's still there. What would you say is the beginning of that journey? Like, what could people do for themselves before coming to someone like you to just get them started? Maybe they don't know where to go or who to turn to or what to do.
To me, would be the first step is knowing what would you rather your life look like? What part are you willing to do? Right. So, like, there's two different types of heart. There's the heart of living, stuck in where you're at, being miserable, being unhappy. And then there's a heart of like, okay, what can I change within myself? And then sticking to those changes because that is hard. Like, changing yourself is hard, but it also depends on how willing you are for that dream. Like, if you have a dream of being successful in anything, it takes hard work and dedication. Same thing with improving yourself as an individual. It takes hard work and dedication and a willingness to do it. If you're trying to change for anyone else other than yourself, it's not going to work. I think that's the biggest thing is wanting to do it for yourself and not for someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't work if you do it for someone else because it doesn't feel authentic, does it?
Yeah.
It just feels like you're trying to do something to people please.
Yes.
And then the guilt comes back and the self-hatred or the lack of self-worth because you feel, once again, I've done this for somebody else and not myself. And it's not selfish, is it? It's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish, is it?
Not. And I actually have a couple teens on my caseload currently, and one has told me that asking for what they need feels selfish, and they've put themselves as the caretaker for their parents. And this client is really young, and like she's like they're in their early teens, and I'm like, no, asking for something, asking for a hug, asking for support, asking for whatever you need from your parent or your caregiver is not selfish. It is you expressing a need that you need in those moments.
So it's important to make that space for yourself these days, isn't it? It's
Yes.
hugely important. So let's talk a little bit about lunar counseling. Lunar counseling. I like that description, probably because you're a moon child, a Cancerian. Uh, but there's so much in what you do. What does your client look like?
Well, that's been an evolving thing, honestly. 'Cause, I mean, I don't ascribe to like where I love working with both genders, both sexes, and everything in between. I think for me, my client that I love working with is someone that has gone through a trauma journey and is ready to make the change and is ready to do the deep healing work and is willing to get into the nitty gritty and find their joy again and heal within themselves in a way that makes them whole, regardless of what anyone else says they need to do. And the clients that I work with are all like that. They all want to find their joy again. They want to make themselves whole and just be the best version of themselves after going through what they went through. And we do some amazing work and we have just a great time. And I love working with all of them. And like, I'm going to miss them whenever they graduate because they just, all of them have done such amazing work. Obviously, all therapists like to say it's like you have to be willing to do the work. And obviously, I meet people where they're at, right? I'm not going to force you to go faster than you want to, but I will prod. Like, if we're gonna circle a block 5,000 times and be like, "Hey, like, listen, I told you to turn right, that's 4,909 times ago." Like, why are we still circling this block? And call them out for those things and make sure they actually wanna make the changes, and if they don't wanna make them, then, okay, so, like, what's keeping you stuck? And that's where we can use hypnosis to go in and seeing, like, maybe what is keeping them stuck on this life or past life or even from their ancestors. 'Cause there's so much from, like, your past life that you can learn. When I've done my own past life journeys, I've learned so much from those about how it's impacted me currently, and we can I do that with my current clients too. We can, like, go in and see what they're still carrying and then clear those things out.
Yeah, they're amazing thing. It's an amazing experience to have a past life regression and find out just exactly where a lot of who you are now comes from. You just mentioned when they graduate. Do you have classes or do you have a set journey for your clients? So say one person might be okay after one session, one person might be okay after 4 years. Like, how does that look to you?
Everyone's journey is individualized. I don't have, like, a prescribed time frame. It really is what their journey is for them, because I have clients that have generations and decades of trauma that we're unpacking and dealing with. So I'm not gonna tell them, like, "Hey, you're done after one session," because that's not gonna happen. When I say graduate, it's just the term that I was trained in using, like, whenever, like, people have met their treatment goals. It's called graduating. But I've also kind of gotten away from, like, focusing so much on goals and more, like, subjectively and how, like, we intuitively feel about how progress is going. Like, if they can like, if we go, say, like, 3 or months or so, and, like, "Yeah, I've been using XYZ skill for so long, like, I'm not feeling anxious anymore. My trauma responses are, like, next to nothing." And then, "Okay, then, like, you don't really need me anymore, and we part on great terms, just like you can always come back anytime." That's kinda where we go from that. But it really is on everyone's journey, and we'll talk about it, and, like, what they want for things too, and, like, how they wanna feel to know when they're done. And I'm more about, like, how they're feeling. Some might feel
Okay.
like they might be ready, but if they're not ready, then they're not ready.
And being ready means they're willing to do the work?
Okay, like, ready is, like, being, like, ready to, like, be done with therapy. So, like, ready literally as in, like, they've been able to consistently use the skills they worked on, consistently make the improvements that they wanna make in their lives, and seeing a marked improvement in, like, their anxiety, their anger, their hypervigilance, feeling okay with intimacy, and, like, actually expressing their needs and setting boundaries effectively. That's a big thing I work on a lot is effective communication and boundary setting, because so many of my clients are people pleasers, and they don't put their needs first. I'm like, "We're gonna change this because your needs matter. Your needs are valid." So, they work on that, and that's always a hard thing too, is, like, learning how to break that cycle to put yourself first. So some of the clients that I have had clients since I opened my private practice in 2023, they're still with me because they have years of trauma that we're working on unpacking, but They made progress in it, and, like, throughout the whole process, and just even just seeing that has been amazing.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I think it's when you have a client and they just loop. They keep looping and, it's challenging, isn't it? Because it's like, it's almost like you want to stay in that loop. Why do you want to stay in that loop? Is it comfortable? It's like a comfy blanket, or what do you call those, baby blankets that a comforter. It's a comforter. Better the devil you know. So it's hard work. It's hard work that's got to be done by the client, that's for sure. And it's interesting work what you do encompassing all of those different skills and abilities. And also the fact I always personally love it when a healer is a projector, because for those listening that don't know what the heck a projector is, I do encourage you to look at human design. It plays a massive part in us individually and who we are, what our blue plate template is. And projectors are just superb healers because they have an ability to project. They see your aura, they see right into you, and let me tell you, you cannot BS a projector. They sniff it a mile off and they know exactly what's going on. And Kira's laughing at me now because she's going, yeah, that's exactly it. Yep, that's what happens, whether you like it or not as a projector. You just know stuff. And so I encourage you to get in touch with Kiara. I'm going to give you her website and contact details in just a moment. But, Kiara, I ask everybody this one question. If you had one message for the world right now, what would your message be?
I'm going to say a word right now. I think the biggest thing that everyone needs to know is finding your joy in life is so important. No matter like who you are, where you are in the world, doing what lights you up will then light up the rest of the world. I think if more people were finding their joy and living their joy, then a lot of things that are going on right now wouldn't be going on right now because everyone would be doing what they're put on this earth to do. They'd be living according to their design. And I'm 100% agree, like human design is super important. Like if you can learn your human design, live according to your design, so many things are out from there. Because as once you're living true to who you are as a human being, regardless of what anyone else in the world says who you should be, tell them to F off because you need to do what's right for you. Like honestly, it's like no one knows your story other than you. Like even like I know my client stories, but even though I know like I'm not a part of what they're willing to tell me, they know their true story. But finding your joy and living your true joy will be the biggest motivator to like help heal yourself and heal the world once everyone can do that.
And you can help them find their joy.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's absolutely beautiful. Okay, well, folks, I'm going to tell you now how you can get in touch with Kiara. Her website is luna-counselling.com. And for us Aussies, that's counselling with one L because we spell it with two. But it's lunacounselling with one L.com. And you can find Kiara on YouTube at Kiara Brown Luna Counselling, again with one L, and Instagram Luna Counselling and Facebook Luna Counselling as well. So it's not difficult to find. Oh, I can see Kira saying, just a second, I've got to pull you up on something. What would that be?
On Facebook and Instagram, it's Luna Counseling LPC. I thought I
LPC.
added that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because I think
Luna Counselling LPC. Beautiful. What's the LPC for?
that stands for Licensed Professional Counselor.
Ah, okay. Good to know. So that's how you can get in touch with Kiara. And I can tell you now, for those of you who know me, you know my intuition, and you know also that I am a projector and a Cancerian with an Aries rising. So the minute that I connected with Kiara, I just loved her vibe, and I'm so excited to connect with her. And I know that her work is absolutely genuine, authentic, and deep diving. So I encourage you to reach out to Kiara and talk to her if you've had any experiences in your life where you really are just stuck, traumas, no matter what they are. I know that she can dig deep and help you find that joy that you so deserve. So, Kiara Brown, thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolute pleasure for me to chat with you and to bring your work to our listeners. Thank you so much.
So it's been amazing. And I'm still feeling you tuning into me, which is like super cool.
Sorry.
I
Two
love it.
projectors.
I love it so much. And this is why I love like connecting with people that are similar to me because like the vibe and the intuitiveness that we get together is like always just like lights me up and makes me know that the world is in good hands whenever we do this.
100%. 100%. Thank you, Kiara. Thanks so much. You take care for now.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here and for listening to Enlightened Connections. I hope today's conversation offered you insight, reflection, or a deeper sense of connection. If this episode resonated, please follow or subscribe and share it with someone who may benefit. All resources mentioned in this episode are listed in the show notes. You can also join me inside the Enlightened Connections Facebook community. I would love to welcome you there. Until next time, take gentle care, stay connected, and trust the whispers.